Welcome to the Manifest Your Wellbeing series. This is the episode number 3. In the last episode, I spoke about mental attitude, about how attitude influences behavior, about how people respond to their surroundings, and how the environment and predisposition can affect people's attitude towards the world. I also spoke about some strategies that you can use if you want to change some of your attitudes. On this episode, I'm going to be talking about responsibility. I hope you enjoy. We have to take responsibility for our actions, and in this episode, I will tell you why. By taking responsibility, you take an active role in your life, instead of being a passive witness with little control on how your life unfolds. By taking ownership of thoughts and actions, you can positively affect your mental and physical health. Taking responsibility in all areas of your life contributes to your self-esteem, the amount of trust people have on you, and your level of awareness. That's why responsibility is one of the main components of success in any area of life. To give an example, if you want to lose fat and improve your body composition, you have to understand that you are the person that will have to take action. Even if you have all the support, all the coaching, and all the resources in the world, you are the one that has to make things happen. It's you that have to initiate action. You are the one responsible for pursuing your health goals. No one can do it for you but yourself. But responsibility hasn't been a hot topic for some time. For some time, we have been hearing about rights, that people are entitled to certain things, and that people are victims of circumstances. But we didn't hear so much about taking 100% responsibility for our thoughts, behavior, and outcomes of our actions. If you want to have good results in any aspects of your life, you have to take 100% responsibility for what you experience in life. You do so by taking ownership of both the positive and the negative outcomes of your actions. Taking credit of our success is the easier part, but things get complicated when we have to face failure. Then it's when we deny, lift the responsibility off our shoulders. We may try to justify our lack of ability or just quit and never try again. By taking full responsibility not only when you succeed, but also when you fail, is a crucial step you take in order to have total control of your life. It's when you can say with conviction, I always take full responsibility for my life. Acting upon this principle requires effort. It requires paying attention to thoughts, words, and actions, as well as having discipline. You start helping yourself. Then, once you have your house in order, you take responsibility for something larger than yourself, the well-being of your community, helping people in need, or taking on a cause that you feel it's important. Stop avoiding responsibility. Each time things go wrong, people blame. We blame ourselves or blame others. We may make some excuses or complain about the circumstances and how powerless we are to change it. This process of responsibility avoidance can also give rise to negative emotions. This episode is about taking ownership of problems and freeing ourselves of negative emotions as well. Let's take a look at the 3 big ones. On making excuses. Refrain from making excuses or from playing the victim card. Some people think that their lack of ability to make things happen is due to outside circumstances. Excuses make you feel powerless, and it can damage your self-esteem. Instead, take the position that you have the power to do things in a different way, and if something doesn't turn out as expected, you can ask yourself, how did I create it? What actions have I taken to produce this outcome? On blaming. Blaming isn't only a waste of time, but can also make people not want to play or work with you. As soon as something goes wrong, our mind starts to look for a culprit. Blame is charged with upset and anxiety. When people lay the blame, these negative emotions are directed towards other people or towards oneself. When the causes are within your control, remember that it's you who took the action, thought the thoughts, or made the choices. When the causes are outside your control, keep in mind that you can control the way you're going to respond to a situation. For both cases, accept that what's done cannot be undone and take a different approach. An approach focused on finding solutions to the problem. On complaining. One reason we complain is because results are not as good as we think they should be, and that something could be done to make them better. Most time people complain to the wrong person, and it gives rise to feelings of frustration or anger. If there's something that you want to change, take ownership of the situation and do it yourself. If you feel you have to get other people involved, instead of complaining to the wrong person, you should find the right person who can make a difference. Share your comments and make your requests having the desired outcome in mind. And remember, do so in a constructive way. Is avoiding responsibility something new? There is nothing new about avoiding responsibility. If you look at ancient literature, you can find great examples. In the book of Genesis, chapter 3, the story of the tree of knowledge of good and evil is a great example. When Eve eats of the tree of knowledge and also gives the fruit to Adam. When God asks, "Have you eaten from the tree that I commanded you not to eat from?" Adam was quick to lay blame, saying, "The woman you put here with me, she gave me some fruit from the tree and I ate it." Eve then laid the blame at the serpent. "The serpent deceived me and I ate it." It's tempting to avoid negative consequences by blaming others, but each time someone does this, it makes the person weaker. Another great example can be found on the Odyssey. In the beginning of the book, Zeus addresses the other gods in the Olympus by saying, "What a lamentable thing it is that men should blame the gods and regard us as the source of their troubles, when it's their own transgressions which bring them suffering. That was not their destiny." The law of causality. For every action there is a reaction. Good deeds bring good outcomes, and nothing can be expected from bad actions. Practicing responsibility in all aspects of your life by taking an active role in life instead of being passive is the best thing to do, because if you don't choose the direction of your life, someone else will do it for you. Take responsibility of the achievement of your goals and desires, and do not wait for other people to fulfill your dreams. Be able to say with conviction the following statements: I am responsible for the level of success I have. I am responsible for the choices I make and actions I take. I am responsible for the way I treat other people. I am responsible for my overall health. I am responsible for my happiness. Now listen carefully. I'm not saying that everything that happens is within your control. I am not suggesting that accidents never take place, and I don't believe that a person is responsible for everything that comes about. I am suggesting that I have to raise my consciousness and be aware of what is under my control and what's beyond it. And then I act accordingly. I don't have control over the thoughts or behavior of other people. The only consciousness I have control over is mine, and that is what I'm responsible for. For the things beyond my control that I can do nothing about, I have to realize that I still have control over my attitude and the way I feel and behave towards what I cannot control. When we take into account the concept of causality, we realize why it makes sense to take 100% responsibility for our existence. I would like to share with you the following affirmations. My consciousness is the only one I have control over, and I cannot control what other people do. However, I can exercise my influence over others to impact the direction of a given outcome. Each person is responsible for his or her own actions. Therefore, I don't blame others for my own mistakes or take credit for work that I haven't done. When acting, I do so in a way that is beneficial not only to myself but also to others. Now, let me give you 3 arguments telling you why it is best to take personal responsibility for your actions and existence. Making excuses, blaming others, and complaining is just a short-term fix. It doesn't address anything. Due to the law of cause and effect, at some point in time you will face the consequences of your actions. People who don't take responsibility tend to generate unhealthy levels of self-esteem. By choosing to take a passive role in life, it can negatively affect one's self-love, self-trust, and self-concept. Not living responsibly affects the quality of anything one creates by not having the incentive to hold oneself to high standards. Now let's talk a little bit more about causality. Whatever we do in life, it can be with our body, speech or mind. It can and will have a corresponding result, and each action, regardless if it's small or big, is charged with consequences. The consequences of actions can be immediate or can show up in the future when the conditions are right. The effect comes into being due to a combination of causes and conditions. Causes precede the effect in time. Whatever we do, we cause things to happen. The result can be positive, neutral, or negative. In the absence of a cause, the effect cannot come into existence. Let's walk step by step to understand how cause and effect work, and then we can use an example that we all can be related to. There is a chain of events for cause and effect to take place. I'm going to take you through each stage to understand how the law of causality works. The agent. The agent is the person who is taking a role in the law of causality, and because of the agent's action, an effect will be produced. Stage 1. Inclinations. The person is inclined to act in a specific way. Each person is unique, each one with a personality type, positive and negative attitudes, different types of mindsets, and different upbringings. A person is more likely to think in one way or the other, depending on his or her inclinations. Stage 2. Thoughts. Because of some desire, the person thinks about doing something, about taking an action. Some people are more positive, others more impulsive, some could be paranoid and others a bit hesitant. The type of thoughts a person has influences the kind of decision and action he or she takes. Stage 3. Seeding. The person puts thoughts into practice. Action is initiated and there is a cause. Here is where change is initiated. It is the efficient cause, the thing that causes the effect to come into being. It can be a bodily or verbal action, or also can be no action at all. If someone takes no action, either by choice or negligence, a cause can also be initiated. Stage 4. Ripening. When action starts the chain of cause and effect, it takes some time to the outcome to come into being. When cause starts ripening, the time to produce an effect will depend on the nature of cause and conditions. Stage 5. Harvesting. What goes around, comes around. The effects of actions are materialized and are felt by the initiator of action, the agent, as well as by the people who are affected by it. Stage 6. Completion. The consequences of actions are felt by the agent who started the chain of cause and effect. It can have lasting effects on someone's life. The outcomes can influence a person's quality of life as well as future behaviors. On taking responsibility and the law of cause and effect. Let's use a practical example to see how it works. Imagine that it's evening. You're at home. You go to the kitchen, open the fridge, take the milk out, use it and leave the milk outside the fridge without noticing. Next morning you want to do your tea and the milk is spoiled. Now you have no milk. You feel frustrated. Let's think about the chain of cause and effect in this example. Due to change, the milk doesn't have the same substance anymore. The change was initiated by your own actions. The material causes the milk. It is the stuff the milk is made of. The efficient cause is the act of leaving the milk outside the fridge. The formal cause are all the combined elements existing within the milk that have the potential to spoil it. The effect is the change the milk went through by getting spoiled. The way it affects your life is having tea without milk and a bit of frustration. This cause needs conditions in place that will result in the milk getting spoiled. For the milk to spoil, it has to be at room temperature, has to pass enough time, bacteria has to proliferate, the pH has to change, and lactose has to turn into lactic acid. The potential for change is already there. The milk has the potential to spoil under certain circumstances, and the primal cause is the act of leaving it outside the fridge. In this case, the seeding is negligence, not paying attention, leaving the milk outside the fridge. The ripening of the action is the milk being spoiled. The completion of this process is how it will affect your morning by not having milk in your tea, by feeling upset and having to go to a coffee bar instead. This example is to demonstrate how we bear the fruits of our own actions, and there are two key elements here. One element is about taking responsibility, where I assume ownership for my own actions and its consequences. I am willing and able to respond to the challenges life presents to me. The other element is related to living responsibly, where I'm aware of the potential consequences of my actions and I act in a way that reduces the probability of initiating change that will bear negative consequences to myself or other people. I do so by living mindfully, by paying attention to my thoughts, words, and actions. By committing to take 100% responsibility for your own life, you set yourself to be in control of your own existence, and by doing so, you commit yourself to be the primary cause for your happiness, success, or health. Because you have control over your level of skills. You have control over your relationships. You have control over your decisions. Even when you are struck by misfortune, you still have control over how you respond to events in life. When you fail, you have the potential to get up and to start over. When people offend you, you can decide not to let it affect you, because you can control your emotions. By raising your awareness, you are going to see in which area of your life you are not taking responsibility. Observe your thoughts, actions, and your reactions to events. And then you ask yourself, do I find myself blaming? Do I find myself avoiding responsibility? Do I find myself pointing to problems without offering any valid solutions? Other elements to pay attention to are your attitudes and your mindset, because any action is influenced by an individual's inclination, as I said. The way you think, your personality, and the prejudices you hold affect the way you make decisions. For instance, if a person is aggressive and don't take well criticism, sometimes he or she can create an unnecessary conflict out of a situation. It's important to exercise as much control over thoughts and behavior, because the way you think and act determines the quality of life you experience. If you don't like what you're experiencing in life, you have the capacity to change it by changing the elements you have control over. When you do this, there is more power to you, and it will be more likely that you will achieve your desired outcomes. Thank you for watching this episode about responsibility. If you like this content, please share, comment, subscribe, or like. In the next episode, I will talk about dealing with negative emotions. If you have been enjoying this series, you will find the next episode very interesting. Thank you.